Okay, so in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to install the IBM Verify Access virtual appliance. So I'm going to select new machine, new virtual machine, and I'm doing this in VMware Workstation. You can choose the hypervisor of your choice. In VMware Workstation, it's important to select ESXi. I'm going to choose 7 here. The reason is the network adapter that's presented in Workstation doesn't seem to be compatible with the Verify Access. Next thing I want to do is select the image that I'm going to use. And in this case, I'm going to select the ISO image that I downloaded from IBM for Verify Access 10.0.8. I'm going to tell it that this is a Linux operating system. I'm just going to select other 2.6 64-bit. Virtual machine name. We're going to call this Lab 4 VA01. And I'm going to give it a particular folder just so that it keeps all the files nice and isolated. I'm just going to give it 2 core and 2 processors. We'll give it, I think it'll run fine with 8. You know, depending on the sizing, you might need to increase that. I'm going to use a bridge network in this case because I'm going to assign it a static IP. LSI logic is fine. SCSI is fine. We're going to create new virtual disks. For this one, I say 200 for the virtual disk size. Store in a single file. Do not allocate the space now, though. And that should be it. Now I'm going to click Finish. And let's just have a quick look at that. So as far as network interfaces, it only has one. If we want to give it another, we can. I only have one subnet here anyways, so I'm just going to do it like that. And we'll just power this on. The rest of this will be done all in the virtual machine itself. So I'm just going to rejig the video here. But for now, we can just say, press enter and it will automatically kick off the booting. All right, so this will take a bit to go through the initial startup, so just be patient with it, and I'll pause the recording, restart it when the interesting stuff happens. So right now it's partitioned the disk and it's going through the actual firmware image installation. All right, and it looks like it has powered off that machine. I'm actually not sure why it did that, but let's reboot it and see. Okay, yeah, no, I guess that's all normal. It didn't look like it was restarting, so I just started it up. But anyways, what you could see there is there's a bunch of different partitions that it makes. Verify Access actually has essentially 2 running systems on it. It only ever runs one at any one time, but it's essentially a backup. So you can switch back and forth between the systems. You could make some changes on one of the partitions. So if you're adding, doing something to the system and you're not sure it's going to work, or you need a rollback, you always have the other partition to fall back to. So it's got a great little built-in rollback system there. Still going through the boot up. All right, and the boot up is complete. Now let's see if I remember. I think it's just admin and admin. There we go. So now we're actually in the system, and we're going to start configuring it. We are going to proceed to the license acceptance here. I don't need to read the license. I'm going to agree to it. All right, let's talk about FIPS 140 briefly. This is Federal Information Processing Standard, I believe. I think it's used in the United States for some more sensitive systems. Generally, I do not enable this, so I just click Next. You cannot undo this if you do enable it. So If you don't need it, don't put it on. Let's change the password. So I'm going to press 1. And old password is admin. My super secret, let me in, 1, 2, 3, bang. All right, done. Next. Now we need to configure the host name. So let me change that. We'll call this lab 4 VA01. Now, the one trick to watch here, I was just checking my notes. This is actually a little deceiving. It wants the fully qualified domain name. So we're going to call this imlab4.local. Okay. Now, as far as these settings, we've got to set up a network static IP. So we're going to press 3 to configure that interface. And we're going to select 1 to select interface 1.1, it's called. Enable this interface. Yes, we do want to enable it. The next thing is we need an IPv4. Now, I'm going to select a manual. If you select automatic, it's going to get the DHCP information and use that. And that's likely not what you want, but maybe it is. Just be, understand that the DHCP may change on you, or the IP address that the DHCP provides you may change on you. And from the looks of my list here, I have an IP address that should work, so I'm going to say add an address. Uh, 192.168.255.86, 255.255.255.0. Is this an IP address for management? So I'm going to say yes to this. If you don't say yes to this, you're not going to be able to get to the management interface for this system on that IP address. You'd have to create another management IP, for example. But anyways, this is a lab, so we're just going to say yes. Normally in a production environment, you definitely don't want the interface that's facing the public to be accessible for management as well. Enable this IP address, yes. Okay, great. So we should be done there. We can finish the address configuration. For IPv6, I'm just going to say automatic. I actually really don't care about it. Use obtained IP address for management. No. All right. We could say yes. I'm not using IPv6. Actually, now that I think about it, sometimes I'm only going to use IPv4. So, but sometimes, depending on the system, you might actually say, "Oh, I want to go to the host name," and it picks up the IPv6, and you can't get to it for some reason. Something to be aware of. All right, we need to set the default gateway. So we're going to select 6. Default gateway is 192.168.255.1, and that's on that interface. Okay, great. So now we should be able to press next. Now we set the DNS server. I think we're just going to use, what are we going to do here? Normally I would put something here. I don't have a domain controller set up at the moment. Normally I would add that in. I'm just going to press enter and ignore that. I'm not going to use anything for DNS. One of the reasons I'm doing this is because a particular project I'm working on right now has no internet connection for these. These are strictly internal servers. So we'll skip over that. Time zone, that's looking fine. Yeah, I guess that's the time. So I'll just say next. And I'm going to accept that configuration. Now it's going to actually configure the Verify Access appliance with everything. And that should be it. Next step will be attempting to access this now. So I've opened up a browser window and I've gone to HTTPS and the IP address of that. And I'm getting this connection is not private, and that's because it's using a self-signed certificate. That's fine. We're going to proceed. And now we type in admin and let me in, 1, 2, 3, bang. And now we have access. So that is how you install Verify Access on in VMware. We've got lots of configuration stuff to do, but I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to stop the video here so that we can just take a break, and then there'll be other videos showing you how to do the rest.